So this goes back and how we organized everything up at that site. And for everybody's interest, that site was acquired back in 1975 by the then Pete Nicklin, who was at the city radio shop where Callie used to work. And Pete was very active with the city. And he put through the city council, helped with different people to put through the city council a city council action which granted amateur radio a position at Vic Trace. In other words, it was not a lease agreement, but it was a council action. And the city has wanted to cancel that council action. But I'm going to step through right here to go back to the beginning.
We're at the beginning.
Oh, let me go back here. Okay, this is the Mesa site repeaters that we had up there and so forth at the time, and all the things it can do. So this is going to be rather quick.
Sure.
Okay, this is the site here at one point in time. The only building existing up there, if I can get the little red dot, is that one right there. That's City Police and Fire. That's a 16-acre lot right in the middle of downtown. And it's under the jurisdiction of the Water Department. And Public Safety, Callie's group went in and they secured a place here for the City Police and Fire at that building. So the following buildings were not there. This one, this one, this one, and the fence were not in existence. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go along here. Okay, so you can see the roof on the building here was leaking water over all the equipment at one time. This garden shed here was put up by Pat Wardlaw. Many of you know him from the FM not repeater, but FM station here in town. And he also owned the nut and bolt factory.
Specialty tool.
Specialty tool. Pat has died, and so I'm not so sure all of that was left. This little shed right here was the original ticket booth down at the harbor. And when they didn't know what to do with it, they brought it up and they planked it right there. And I said, well, what are you going to do with it? They said nothing. So we used it for storage, keeping stuff in there. And the building here to the right is AT&T, which was originally put in, I'll explain, back when cellular came into Santa Barbara. And the ducting here goes out to the tower. Okay, the next one. And this is a shed that we had that Pat Wardlaw owned. And he only had a Citizens Band receiver there. So the guy would drive up and down the highway and talk in on Citizens Band to give the street reports. And then it would be put out over broadcast radio, AM radio. So it was done from this building here. And we secured a space for the repeater we originally had was outside the building on the ground. It originally came from Delco, was a tube model, and we didn't have any enclosure for it, sitting right on the dirt. And it evolved from that point. And eventually we got it inside of a shed here, so to at least protect it. This is part of the move of the equipment that we originally had up there, which was only this rack. And we had another rack there also, which was part of a Santa Barbara, let's see, medical clinic. One of their racks that they had for the pulmonary department. Anyway, this is the equipment that we had in there just prior to our move. You can see the dates down at the bottom here. This was 2010. Okay, this is Bill's engine. I think it's probably Jack pulling out the equipment out of the room and just positioning it there. And we're going to cover it up because now we're going to take the site down. And you can see the, yeah, one of the link antennas there. And going on with here. So we started to take the shed down. And this is Shaw Taguchi, one of our great guys in Santa Barbara, that did the original work for putting together digital systems. He did a bang-up job, but then he got overloaded, and you'll see some of his work still around. But he had to go on to other things.
He did great documentation.
Yeah, he was super documents everything and pictures and the whole thing. He did a bang up job. I can't believe it. So all of this equipment was outside, and we put a tarp over it, and that was it. Still operate. Everything was still going. And so we had power running to it, the whole thing. 7-9 never got off the air once we moved everything out. And this is all the junk that we had in there, including a table here, which I got off the USS Leahy when I was aboard. I commandeered the chair. I mean, the bench before I left. And nothing else to report except we had to move the air conditioner to the other side of the building. That was part of the thing. And you're going to see the building right here now has got a new roof. We paid for the roof. That was $12,000. And we paid to put a new, what they call sonofil on the roof now. That's what the city approves now for their roofing, rather than having asphalt and stone. They have you coat it with this membrane. Underneath the membrane is a little cushion area that sort of keeps everything, the heat down and all of that. You can walk on it, but you just can't. You cannot abuse it. But apparently, it's a pretty good roof, and it's been up since we did the site, which was 2011. This is part of the destruction of the shed, and just brought in a front end loader here. And I'm going to talk a little bit for OBB's benefit because, he doesn't have the eyesight to see it. So maybe we can dialogue a little bit. And just crushed it up with the front end loader here and took it away. Okay, this is how we put in the building. I had to work for 5 years just to get the planning through. And we worked with an architect, and we worked with a local builder. And you can see the deep ditches there that were needed to put the anchor bolts for the buildings as earthquake proof. And the rest of it here is all apron, that you see here. So we paid for all of that. And of course, to put gravel here on the front and shape the ground down. And that's similarly what we will be doing at Ellings Park if we go there. We have to, in order to put the building down, it sets on a pad. If you don't set it on a pad, the rodents make their way up through the bottom and they will destroy you. Because I've been through this a dozen times here in Santa Barbara, and there are big rodents, and they're not just small animals. And you got rats and mice and that just eat equipment away. So you have to totally block everything off. This is the building here as it arrived from South Dakota from the manufacturer. We paid $31,000 delivered to Santa Barbara. And that is the delivery right there. The transporter just backed up his truck. In this building here, this is the side look of the building. And you can see the cell tower in there in the back. Now that cell tower, we've been asked to leave the site. My understanding is that Crown Castle owns AT&T, and Crown Castle has been told to remove that entire cell site. That's what I've been told. County antennas are also on that cell site, and the county has radios that are in the city building. My understanding from county, and I'm only repeating what they tell me, they have to remove all of their Quantar Motorola's out of the city building, and they're going to do that. And I said, what are you going to do with your antennas? They're going to leave them up on the tower, and when they destroy the tower, then the county antennas will be destroyed with it. This is the crane as it arrived from Specialty Crane right here in Goleta, and this is how they had to saddle up and get a grip of spreader bar and so forth. And this is one of our towers there on the left side of the crane there. So you grapple it from 4 sides, and there's a special way to do that, which Wayne has found out since finding out what you have to do that. All of this cannot be done by our word. It has to be done by what the manufacturer specifications are. So we cannot tell them what to do. We have to go back to documentation for everything, for the foundation, for how we grapple the building. And it's all about liability. It's got to be done the right way. The building here weighs 13,000 pounds. And when you figure we have about maybe less than 2,000 pounds of equipment inside the building, let's just say round figures, we got 15,000 pounds they have to lift up. So this is lifting in a position here onto the concrete. The concrete was done by a local guy here in town, did a beautiful job. That's 4,000-pound concrete. In other words, if you go up there right now, I don't think you'll find a crack in it. And Bill explains to me how that's done with some kind of chemical.
Oh, Oslam.
Yeah, they dump that in with the concrete mix. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, this is the crane being setting the building down, and it fit like a glove. It's 22 feet long, 10 feet wide. Is it, Wayne? 10 feet, I guess we could say. Yeah, and you'll notice the air conditioner on the back here, and also we had air that could come in the back of the building and go out the top in the front of the building in case the air conditioner failed. That's settling it down. Okay, and this is the first opening of the building right here, that we got the door open. And there was I was trying to get the word around to Hams to show up. What the builder was trying to do was he was trying to get the crane in and say, surprise, I got the building in. And I just happened to show up at the site. And I just happened to have my camera. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have these pictures. He was trying to make it a surprise for us. And I said, no, I want the pictures.
Who's up the tower with the camera?
I'm sorry.
Who's up the tower with the camera?
Yeah, me.
That's you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, this is how it all ended up. We relocated the fence around the building that pushed it out because the original fence was up against AT&T here, and you couldn't repair these air conditioners that they had. You could barely change the filter on it. So this is how we ended up with a nice clean site, beautiful installation in 2011.
Well, how much did that cost at that time?
$60,000. Well,
For everything?
No, that was for shipper. The building was 30. It
was 30, yeah, 31.
And then the permitting was $2,000. The architect fee was, I only found receipts at up to, I guess they got up to like around $6,000, estimated 10, so maybe it was $200,000 job.
Yeah, that's more nice, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did all that money come from? Was that
Well, I can explain it all where the money came from. 40,000 came from 40 somewhat thousand came from Orphala, and their executive director. We worked with him. We got 75,000. I believe it was $75,000 check, and the treasurer had to cut the check in half. Montecito got, I think, 35, and we got the rest because they would only write one check from Orphala. And the way we got it, Orphala did it, was Orphala was basically education. However, his wife, Natalie, was on the, what the hell do you call it, the grand jury. And she was the one that came up with, and she supported emergency communications because she found out what a mess Santa Barbara was in, the whole county. And she commissioned a consulting agency to put out a huge manual about everything in Santa Barbara and what's working, what's not working. That program became Aware and Prepare. Now, Natalie went to her husband and got the money from education, put it into supporting this kind of stuff and other things around that were supporting things out of the Emergency Communications Center. They are no longer married, I believe. I think he's off with somebody else. I'm not so sure where Natalie is. This is the site as the day that we put it in. You can see the date down at the bottom there is 2012. So that's the AT&T building, and that tower there, AT&T relocated all the towers there, every one of them. They relocated everything because the towers, the original antennas were just planked right into the ground. The city never never did anything beyond that. They had a couple of small towers up, but they reorganized everything and they got the cell site in. And that was Cellular One, which became Singular, which became AT&T, you know, the big go around.
Two of the towers were ours.
Yeah, two of those.
The one to the
Yeah.
far right and the one that was just next to the weather station.
Yeah. Now this is the tower here that collapsed. And you can see all the stuff we had on it.
That was before there were two more dishes.
Yeah, yeah.
Three more.
And the camera up at the top was put in for Mission Canyon Association for fire watch, but it never worked because when you have a camera, somebody's got to watch it. There was nobody to watch the camera, so somebody would have to report a fire, and then you could see it on the camera, and then you could have to try to control it to put the you know, what do you call it, a close-up lens on it or whatever. But they didn't have anybody to sit and man the camera. So they eventually took that out of the way, and Firescope came in and put in cameras that are IR detectors. And those were recently taken out a couple of weeks ago by one of our people that works for UC. I say our people, he works for UC. And so he supported that. Those cameras are out of there, those IR. They've been pulled off the.
Well, the visual ones are still there.
Yeah, the visit,
HP RAN is still.
right, but the IRs are gone. Yeah.
We have one tower left, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So when we put up the things, this is the link, this is the antenna we have going to San Ynez Peak, the big one right there. This big one right here. And that one there was going to Gibraltar Peak. And there's a link antenna and GMRS at the top, the weather station and all of that. So everything little by little kind of loaded the site down. And but there was a mechanical defect in the base. It was maybe the weight so much, not the weight, but the wind loading. But there was a mechanical defect in one of the legs in the cement, in the concrete part, and on that part of the base. So it didn't totally crash. It just went over like that, and you can tell that it didn't slam into the ground and destroy everything because we recovered probably 90% of everything. And this is the way the inside is originally was laid out here, and we have 3 racks, and each with 2 bays, so that's 6 19-inch racks. You can see the 3 of them there. This has all changed somewhat now because the equipment has been changed around a little bit. So if we move, we're planning on moving everything together in one piece. In other words, tie everything down and see if we can put it on board a transporter. The crane lift is not going to be too bad, but the transporter, I can't tell you what that's going to do. This is looking at the what they call the lightning arresters, the polyphasers there in the back, and so forth. And the repeater is located here in this big hole that you see there in the front. And these are the duplexes right here. The original duplexes we had were a bad manufacturer, and they said send them back. Well, we didn't have any duplexes to send them. If we sent them, we were off the air. So we sent one cavity at a time. In the end, we only could send one cavity, and the rest of them were left where they are. The plunges were frozen, and it was a mismanufacture. And they cost a fortune at that time because we paid for that way up front in the beginning when the site developed. That's part of the polyphaser rack there, which is pretty much built out right now. And this is looking towards the front of the building here. And all of this, most of this stuff has been changed around a little bit. Thanks to Wayne, all of the power system has all been changed out. So 2011 till now is what, 13 years or so? So we've had 13 years use out of the building. Nobody had anticipated this, although I had heard that they were going to expand the water site, but I didn't think that they were going to actually kick everybody out, which is what they've been apparently doing. So there's the bench that we have in there. I love this place, the way it's laid out. It's beautiful. As Bill knows, he goes down and helps sweep the floor. And, yeah, well, we baby this place, believe me. You know, it's well laid out. We got benches and storage there for, you know, tools and everything. So we can pretty much stand alone there. And I would hate to lose this thing. I'll tell you, it's just too much. And that's where the interconnections there in the back, that box. This is where all the antennas go in and out. All of our coaxes is 7/8 hard line, and we have 15 runs going out to the 2 towers. And this is how we originally labeled them. And Wayne was going to do it a different way, but I don't think we have to worry about it now.
Yes, overtaken by this.
Yeah, just some of the equipment. And this is how our antennas arrive for the 5.8. Okay, we had planned on a build out to the Carpinteria and weather broadcast monitor and SAME alerts. SAME alerts, we got a receiver. I don't know if you know what that means. Same area message encoding. That's what goes off by the Weather Service at broadcast peak. They put out a tone and it opens up receivers around town. And you can buy receivers that do that, and they will report any emergency, whether it's a tsunami or weather or whatever, and it comes over on that link. And I was planning on putting that over amateur radio, which is legal to do. But we have the receiver. Nobody ever got around to hooking up the receiver to the repeater and have it SAME over our repeater. That never happened.
Was that issued over NOAA?
Yeah.
Is it the
Yeah.
NOAA
Yeah.
transmitter?
The NOAA transmitters, there's 2 of them. There's one for area weather and one for marine weather. And most of them broadcast the same thing. They are 100-watt transmitters, 24 hours a day on the air from broadcast. And you can get those on what frequency is that? I don't know.
160 something.
Yeah. Okay, this is some of the stuff that we were gonna do here. So anyway, I skip over, this is West Lacumbra Peak here that we had thought this is the equipment we have at West Lacumbra County site. And I built this in my garage, we moved it up there. We've been there for 32 years. Now we wanted to move the shelter up to this site. And so we sent a message to the Forest Service asking them what paperwork we needed to do that. County was aboard with us to move our shelter to the West Lacumbra, but they didn't want it in the fence, within the fence line. They said, put it outside the fence line. Well, whether it was outside or inside the fence line, when the Forest Service got a hold of the fact that we were going to put a shelter up there, they went ballistic. And they said, not only no, but hell no. They would not allow it. Period. End of question. They said they didn't even realize that we had been up there for 32 years with that one rack. So now they've thrown cold water on everything. And you can fight this. And they recently put out a thing on YouTube that says all around the United States, hams are just having a bitch of a time trying to get anything up on any forest site because they declare it's government owned. Now, if it's government owned, you can't team it up with ham radio. You know, this is crazy stuff the government does. And I know they have a reason anyway, but the bottom line is that this is why we can't move it into that site there. Those 4 antennas are going to be put on the new county tower, which is in the process of being erected this year. And we'll have 5 positions, Wayne?
Yeah, 5, I think.
5 antenna positions, 1 microwave and 4 radio antennas. That's all they will allow us, and the county will stand behind that. But the federal says no. But they got to tell the county to kick us out. And
Remind me, what do we have? What are those for?
we have the 220, 121.5, which we have as a monitor for the airband frequency, the 440 for control, and the remote base for 2 meters. So those are the 4 antennas. And the reason why I put ground planes up there, because I couldn't put anything that was vertical that would bump into the county antennas. They gave us the 20-foot spot on the tower, and I put that bar up there. This is heavy son of a gun, and I had to get it specially manufactured so I could mount them in this configuration. But all of that there is going to be taken out. We will be allowed to have our 5 systems there, but only in that rack and no more.
Well, what kind of antennas are those? They look bent over.
Oh, no, those are ground planes. These here are about 250 to 300 bucks a piece. If you want a good ground plane, this is the one you get right there, because they're built like iron. And you'll see them used by the military and everything.
The ones they put up on the peaks so it freezes over.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Bill, wasn't this site at one time, I remember going up there with Taz and with Joe, this was an amateur site before the county moved in. Way
No.
back when they called it Chichi.
Chichi Castaneda, yeah,
But that was what, 1970
yeah.
or 69?
Yeah, what the forest told us that all of the land, you don't see it from here, but all of the land, which is the FAA site, the site that, what is it, Earthscope, and the flood control district and the county is government property and government only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And DOJ's up there too.
So they don't want amateurs up there on government property is what it amounts to.
Back through some of that older documentation, you could find something that could establish the precedent that this is not in fact purely.
They just thumb their nose. They say, come and fight us.
Well, I mean, they have a site plan,
Yeah,
and the site plan is quite a few years old. So if we had known about the site plan, that would have been time to fight it, but now that's well established,
Yeah.
I think.
they get what they call the East Lacombe site plan, and they have a West Lacombe site plan. And the district ranger is responsible for that. And
They
so,
said go to East Lacombe, go to the Cox site, or go to Gibraltar.
Right.
That was their suggestions, because they were,
So East Lacombe is becoming increasingly important to us.
right,
very much so.
yeah, but there's no room for a building there. But, you know, we can put our equipment there, so,
You just have to give an unnamed
Yeah.
person the boot.
Now,
Yeah.
John Franklin, we went up there and investigated that site, Gibraltar Peak. And there's no room for the container up there. And he's willing to give us, say, one rack or one piece of equipment. And that's Bill up there, I think, on the weather station. You can see in the background there, you can see the county flood control antenna on the left, and you can see the FAA antenna just over the hill there on the right side.
Is that
And
the Pete Brothers?
Hmm?
The Pete Brothers system?
yeah, we took down all of our weather stations because they couldn't stand the snow and the ice.
I can stand anything but weather.
Yeah, the cups get out of balance and the whole thing goes into oblivion.
Yeah.
And we were spending money to try to support that. And this is the rack that's up there right now and pretty much the way it still looks. That's been up there outside. We use Caltrans boxes because they just suit themselves so well to this. And this is the west side, the build outs. Oh, no.
Backwards.
Going
Oh, wait a
backwards?
minute. I'm going the wrong way. And
Yeah.
it's big. Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted. Now, this is the Cumbra Peak here when it snows.
Mhm.
And that's what happens. You see how the rime ice comes up on everything. And it would knock out our weather station immediately. Well, that tower there is gonna go away. All these dishes here to the left are gonna go away. The new tower is gonna go on the right side here. And we will be able to put our antennas on that tower, but that's it. Doesn't look like any more right now. You can see the ice all caked up here.
That, you call it a traffic box, right?
Yeah.
That traffic box is really a tidy.
Okay, now this is the Cox site right here. The last fire that went through, you can see it, how it burned right up to the site. And they dropped water right at the line there. Now, we'll be allowed to put equipment in that building.
Which
And-
building?
Yeah, which building? Yeah, there's a building. Yeah,
I mean, the old tower?
the old Cox building is right there, yeah.
Cox abandoning that thing or what?
They pretty much abandoned with all of their equipment. And the only thing left there is city county, OES, amateur radio, and
Gas company.
the gas company.
Yeah.
They can't expand it because it's a communications facility, but it's privately owned and not under government control. So that's why we can put it there.
Who privately owns it?
Cox Cable owns it.
They do.
Yeah, but there's 12 acres up there. If you go up there, there's chairs and tables right there
Yes.
onto the left side. And you can sit there and look, and and look at all downtown Santa Barbara. It's a great site. It's 3985. So it's right at the 4,000-foot level.
You see
And,
north, Bill, there's the mountains in the way. Is it high enough?
I'm sorry.
Is it high enough to see north?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's a really good site. This is looking down after the fire went through. It almost burned the whole building down. And they just dropped water right next to it. And that's the building there. This is the original tower that was put up in 1945. And the Save the Tower Foundation in Santa Barbara would not let them take down the tower. So Cox could not expand. So Cox moved all of their facilities out of there.
One standing, the last hour.
Yeah. Now, this is the first antenna that was put up for search and rescue and SBARC on one mast
Search and rescue and
SBARC.
SBARC.
We teamed with search and rescue teamed with us, mainly because the forest did not want to issue another permit. They didn't want to issue any more permits for the site. So they allowed us to get in, and I have it on paper, actually on paper, written down. Would you please put search and rescue underneath your umbrella? And we did, up until recently. When they got their own agreement, we got our own agreement for lease agreement. But this is the original mast that Bruce Gordon and I put up. And one of the reasons is we couldn't repair anything. We couldn't even get it anything. We had to take all the antennas down just to get to the top one. So we removed that, and Wayne put up two roan sections up there, which I consider as being owned by Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club and Search and Rescue around one, what should I say, one mast. And it only goes up about 15 feet, maybe a little bit more. And just skip through UCSB here. These are all aerial photographs there. This is the top of the building at UC where the remote is.
The library.
Yeah, the library. And this is all the work that was done up there. Steve Nelson, who helped me out. You see what we did up there was we put horizontal Roan 25s and then attached antennas to that. That's our original equipment right there. That's there.
oh yeah. It's the 121 remote receiver and also a remote receiver for TZ, which then we send back on 400 megahertz to the TCF.
Now, if you're at the water tank at Carpinteria, this is the view you get back towards La Vigia, right there. And that's the spit of land that sticks out there. So it's a pretty good place, but we never did put anything there.
Bill, which one of those is the Victrace site? Is it the left or
The left,
The left.
yeah. I can point it out right about, it's about right about in there. Yeah. Oop. Yeah, right about there. Yeah. And there's where we were gonna put it, right there, but we never did this. And the reason why we never did this was because 2 meters became available for Carpinteria. And 9.2 was available to Carpinteria. So we said, well, why are we putting up an extra receiver? Well, they wanted to cover more inland. Well, we never got there. Okay, that's the tower.
Heat school.
Yeah, anyway. Oh, this is a pretty good one right here. This is Gibraltar Peak. And this is owned by Franklin and K6LUA. And Callie's equipment is over there. Your repeater's down on the bottom here, right? Callie doesn't remember that. It used to be up at KDB. KDB is the radio station right there. That's KDB. And Callie's equipment, I think, is down here right now.
So it's Tom King.
Yeah, now you can see it's been all burned out. So I took these low flying over the area. I had great fun doing low passes with John Roberts. Had an L-19. I love that airplane. It's a super airplane. It's what we had in the military. That's why I like it so much. This is Broadcast Peak here. And KDYD. This is flying below the peaks, and then San Ynez Peak. And I get the opportunity on occasion to ride with the sheriff, and we use the 206. We went around to all the sites. And Greg Weitzman, who's a ham, he was with the sheriff's department at that time, and he was qualified in all the sheriff's equipment, helicopters. He's retired out now. So this is San Ynez Peak, and this is a peak here, and gives you an idea of all the stuff that's up there. Now, you can't put anything more up in here. They will not allow anybody to expand anything.
Can't blame them.
Well, John's got stuff up there.
John's had a permit in for 10 years and can't get it. Yeah. So, and this is the old tower right here on the left, which you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And this is when we're putting up the new tower. Well, how do they put up the new tower? Well, here's the new tower going in here. First thing you look for is rattlesnakes.
There he
They're
was,
all over.
Lunch.
Yeah,
missing his head.
yeah, yeah. And this is at McPherson. I just put that in there because it is a rattler. And he came right up on this guy who was drilling, putting in a sill on the door. And he came right up on it. And you can see the snake there. Now, this is how they did San Ynez Peak. This was put up in 2011 also. Now, would you believe 100-foot tower, and they only put 4-foot legs in it, down 4 feet. You can see the guy standing there. That's the bottom right there. And you'll see how they did it. This is how the tower goes in. All the weight for holding that tower down is by the concrete that's in that pad. And you see what do they call them? These forms that you put in there. And so they backfill them with concrete. And that's the concrete. This is the 100-foot tower on a transporter. And the transporter was too big to get up to San Ynez Peak. So had to get a smaller truck to take it up to San Ynez Peak. And this is how you put up a 100-foot tower in one day. Put it up in one day, all pieces, all like an erector set. In one day, they'll put up a 100-foot tower, and that is a big tower. Well, you do it horizontally like this. You put the pieces together horizontally, and the first thing you do is get the first legs on like that. And then from the first legs, you put the lattice work back and forth. And this goes quick. You can't believe how these guys work. And you'll see the crane picking up 20-foot sections and just putting one section on top of the other, going straight up. And so there's a camera picture there you'll never see again, and that's the old tower and the new tower. So the old tower comes down. That's the new tower here. There's our antennas there that are going up, and with search and rescue working on the tower and so forth. Anyway, I got to skip fast here because I think I'm taking, again, too much time. But this is an interesting shot here. Yeah,
That's another tower.
yeah.
That's the search.
That was the original FM antenna for Santa Barbara. That was an FM
Just cut
broadcast antenna.
the one just north of the building.
Yeah.
We've got one antenna out there.
Yeah, and that antenna there was for broadcast, and it was handmade. Yeah. And they had to take it down because Forrest said no more guy wires. So I had to climb up to get to the top of that one, try to get up to the top and recover all the coax because the hams wanted coax. And so we took it all down. The crane wasn't tall enough to get up at the top. You can see the guy is already up there ready for the crane. And the crane wasn't tall enough. They had to go back to Santa Barbara and get an extra arm on the crane. Yeah. So they lowered the tower down piece at a time. And then we took it apart and it was given to ham radio to use. Okay. Oh, this is just some of this is the kind of winds you get up at San Ynez Peak here, the weather, ice. See the ice at the bottom there?
You
I
have to
won't
watch out
explain
for
it.
ice falling off those.
Oh, it's a.
You get hit with that, you don't live. Yeah, big chunks.
I haven't seen one picture of you with a hard hat on yet.
No, you never will. Marine Corps, got a hard head.
Hard head, a jar head.
This is some of the hams that came up to put some sealant on the top of the building.
Who stepped in something?
Yeah. Anyway, this is the equipment up there. Yeah,
Really?
I gotta step through this pretty quick here because, oh, this is another helicopter. I love helicopters. This is at the FBI site. There's an FBI site out at Santa Cruz Island, and we're taking equipment out to there. And that's only FBI. And this is this helicopter, UH-1 with twin engines and Marine Corps helicopter. And that was search and rescue. And that's what the county now owns. So we get to fly in all these guys. This is Craig McCaw's helicopter right here. He has two of them, EC-135s. Yeah.
Was he allowed to go out to Santa Cruz?
We went out to Santa Cruz. We took them two at a time. I've been out several times with them, but you do tandem flying out, and there's a picture in here. You can put a lot of equipment there. There's a picture of flying alongside the other one. They're nice helicopter, really, really nice. There's landing at Santa Cruz Island. That's Diablo Peak there. So I gotta skip through here pretty quick. Okay, that's probably about it. So I'm quit there. Sorry to take up the time, but I didn't see anybody walking out, so.
No,
Bill, can any of those helicopters lift 13,000 pounds?
No.
No,
No.
Wayne found out.
That's about $150,000
Yeah.
to helicopter it out there.
Really? To go a mile? What if you're just trying to go from one peak, like from La Vigia over to?
Well, that's what I mean, that's the quote we got, to fly it from La Vigia to Diablo. I mean, what's
Yeah.
that?
Now, this is a 407 helicopter that if you listen to Aspen, they're doing offshore operations as we speak. And this is one of the helicopters that's used. It's a 4-bladed one. And so it's got plenty of power. And what I got on there is my ladder from the house, a 20-foot pole on the other skid right above the floats, those big things, the floats there, and hauling a barrel of fuel.
kind of
Up
looks
to
like
the-
hillbilly helicopters.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's right, there's Granny with the rocking chair on top, yeah.
Clampets are moving.
And that's Bill there with the helicopter. He's all worn out. Bill won't go back. No, he'll go back. That's a beautiful helicopter. I love that one. And this is Channel Islands. They're out of business now. They were using our stuff, our equipment, and so forth. So that's about it. Anyway. Okay, so I shut down here. So you can shut it off.
Stop the share here.